Welcome back to the Alternative Investment Show. My name is Kerry Stevenson, serial entrepreneur, gold investor, real estate investor, and passionate educator for people to understand money, currency, and where we're going in this crazy new world. I'm delighted today that we have one of the busiest women in Australia right now. Her name is Jodi Stanton. She is the chief executive of a company called SendGold. We're going to find out a little bit more about SendGold, find out a little bit more about Jodi. Let's give her a big warm welcome. Jodi, welcome to the program.
Hi, Kerry. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate having
you. Hey, listen, I know how busy you guys are right now, but I wanted to start off by sharing with our listeners, obviously there's a bit of an American accent there. You have a background in the financial markets, but I want to start off, you spent time on Wall Street, but you've also done a lot of traveling around the world. You've seen a lot in your lifetime. You've come out to Australia. You've set up a company called SendGold, which we'll talk about, gold as a service, and getting people to understand that gold, I guess, demystifying gold, because a lot of people don't understand gold. But Jodi, what is your background? You've done a lot of traveling. You've built a lot of businesses over time. You've won some awards in the fintech space, which is fantastic. Let our listeners know a little bit about you.
Thanks, Kerry. Well, my background, I am American. I came here 20 years ago to Australia. I came to Australia for lots of different reasons, but I was also leaving Wall Street when I did that. So my career started in Wall Street. I worked in risk. In hedge funds. I was going to work in a town car. I had all the modern cons, and left Wall Street, however, to ride my bike around the globe, which I did over 2 years. I was sponsored by a company called Trek, and I crossed 25 countries. So
was that a push bike or a motorbike?
Yeah, it was a push bike, I'm afraid.
Wow, she's very fit then if she's gone all the way around the world, ladies and gentlemen. Far out.
I'm losing fitness sitting here, as we all are currently, I must say. But yeah, so I've traveled a lot, both for work and for pleasure, and transacted a lot cross-border. And I think a lot of people in the world know about the wealth gap. And when I say the wealth gap, I'm not even talking, sub-Saharan Africa. I'm speaking, the ultra high rich and everybody else, right? Even the upper middle class and the ultra high rich is diverging. So a lot of people are aware of that, but they haven't internalized it. And I think that travel can do that for you. Transacting across different currencies can help you internalize that, and then just the logistics. Where does your money go when you send it cross border for those 3 to 5 days? Who does have the benefit of that? Legacy systems, but it's very expensive to operate in cash, and getting more and more expensive to do so every day. And the money is changing, and so. For me, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I deeply care about the rising wealth gap. And so, my current project over the last few years is right in that pocket.
So when you say it, so it is on the minds of people at the moment that there is sort of, I guess, it's almost like the rich are getting richer and the middle class is disappearing. Do you think that our current monetary system as it is broken? And did you feel, there's 2 questions here, did you feel like when you were working on Wall Street, were you a little bit immune to that? Was it like being in a bit of a bubble? You work on Wall Street and you really don't see the rest of the world.
Oh, I think that can be certainly the case for many people. I can't speak for Wall Street. I can only speak for myself, but I do think, I tell the story that if you were making more than 3 million on Wall Street back when I was there, this is pre-GFC. So I was there during the Asian financial crisis, and it was pre-GFC, pre-9/11. So for me, if you were making over $3 million, I looked around and I had that threshold, arbitrary threshold in my mind. And I said, if you're making more than that, you're pretty happy. and again, I was in risk. There's a lot of things that go on Wall Street. I was in particular risk and derivatives and layering on risk and hedging and all that sexy new stuff on the fixed side. So for me, if you were making a lot of money, the system was working for you. But if you weren't, those of us who weren't quite that level yet, it was, we knew we were getting there, however, and you looked around and you said, there's something wrong here, you know? So we would go and unravel trades between banks, and we weren't even sure who owed who $500,000. Was it Goldman? Was it JP Morgan? And so that experience for me, you know, I kind of said, you know, whoa, something's not quite right. Now, having said that, there's a lot of things that are right, but money itself, we are all losing our purchasing power. Yeah. By design. The central banks, by design, are, you know, inflating or deflating our money at any given time. Planned inflation, by definition, decreases our purchasing power. So a Sydney home cost a lot more than it did in 2000, but the home is still the home. Gold is still gold. It's the dollar that moves around it. The dollar.
And that's a really important, sorry, Jodi, to interrupt you there, but that's a really important point that I think a lot of people don't understand is right now, especially as we're living through the coronavirus globally, and governments are printing paper money, fiat currency, and people don't, there's not a connection there, is there? So do you see that this ever increasing pile of paper money is going to impact? Can you just explain to people that are listening out there who don't really understand what you mean by, you know, the creeping inflation and the money printing? How do you see that?
Well, there's monetary tightening and there's monetary easing. Sometimes they're printing money, sometimes they're burning money. You know, as I understand it, we just went through a process where they were on the burning side. Now we're on the printing side again. So by printing more money, increasing the capacity, the supply, the money supply, you actually decrease the debt. So, but what happens is everything becomes more expensive. I mean, it's very simplistic format. Yeah. It takes more money to buy whatever you need to buy. And so given what's happening in the world today, there is huge risk of huge inflation. Huge. There's opportunity for sovereign risk is increased. I could quote IMF statistics about the number of countries looking to them for a bailout right now. It's unprecedented. So there is high risk of inflation. So for me, I've had a strong gold holdings for since I was 18. But certainly in the last few years, I've increased that tenfold. So that's just my view. And then really, our company is really about making that accessible to everybody else. So gold is difficult to understand to many. It kind of belongs to maybe our grandfathers or our fathers. It belongs to Asia, who have a cultural affinity with gold, India. But Australia is the second largest gold producer in the world. Not everybody even knows that sitting here in Australia. China's number one, Australia is number two. So it's a huge export for us now. People are buying it up offshore. Australians don't buy it as much as everyone else around the world does. And it's unfortunate that is the case when it's sitting in our own backyard.
Why do you think that is, Jodi? Why do you think that people, because I speak to people about gold and how it can help you, I guess, insure against the loss of purchasing power of your paper money. But why do you think most people say, I don't understand gold, or it's all too hard? And your company, SendGold, I guess, is demystifying that and saying, look, what you guys are doing is saying you can put your paper money and use it almost the same way as you do physical gold, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, SendGold, we don't quite have our name right yet, but we're about, you know, an alternative to a bank account. That's all. So you can send it overseas with instant settlement. So if I owe someone money overseas, I can make that payment and it's immediately settled. So in a sense, it's like Bitcoin in that way. You don't have to wait 3 days for them to receive my gold, receive my US dollar, whatever it is that I'm sending. It is instant, and that's really, really important. The other thing that we do is it's 100% yours. So regardless of what happens to our company, you still own that gold. Nothing is going to happen to our company, by the way. We're very strong. But we set up the ownership model around that, making sure that you own that 100% title to gold. So it's an ETF, for example. Interesting things happening in the market on ETFs I won't go into, but that's
just again for our listeners out there, an ETF is just an exchange traded fund.
Correct. And we would call that paper gold, right? Paper gold versus owning the physical. So, and not everybody wants to put the physical in a vault in their home, right? So that's where we come in. But it is that 100% ownership model. So we can send that overseas. Our customers can send that overseas instantly. It's used for gifts a lot. It's a great gift, particularly in today's environment when you can't run out to the shops. We have a lot of requests for the parent-child account, so we're rolling that out this year. So you can buy and accumulate, introduce financial literacy with your own children, and get a savings account in gold for them. And then later this year, we've had on this books a long time. We keep putting it on the back burner because it's not what we think is the #1 use case. But we are introducing spend. So you'll be able to spend your gold at a merchant anywhere that accepts Master. We're doing that with MasterCard, right? So, so finally, we're going to flip the switch on that. So
when is that switch going to be flipped, Jodi?
We just flipped it here recently, so it's just a matter of rolling it out and preparing for that launch. But yeah, we've got all our credit card and our Apple Pay designs. They look great, so very excited about that. But all up, it's an alternative to a savings account. It's just a place to hold money outside of the banks. It's a way to protect your wealth, grow and protect your wealth outside of the banks. You can send it cross-border and you can transfer it across generations instantly. And so it's really just an alternative to a SendGold bank account. I will always have both, but I can tell you where most of my liquid assets are right now, certainly in gold.
And I think that's something that we spoke about. I recently interviewed the #1 business and wealth coach, JT Fox. His whole thing is hedge and diversify, hedge and diversify. And this is just another way of saying to people, look, obviously most people have got a bank account, but here's an alternative, ladies and gentlemen, for a bank account. It operates like a bank account. Am I right, Jodi? But obviously, interest rates are pretty low these days. You don't pay interest if people, say, for example, put $10,000 into the company, it's backed by gold. It's holding its purchasing power, but you don't get any, 0.25 interest on whatever you put into the SendGold account. Would that be right?
Yeah, that's right. So if you think of, you asked me about why Australians are not maybe as interested in gold. It is interesting because, we haven't talked to very many VCs in town. I've dabbled in that sector here for sure as a professional, but we haven't gone there. When we do go to a VC, and if we do, it will be offshore because we're a global company. We're not looking for something just to be built here. We started here, and for good reason, but most of our transactions are offshore. Now, why Australians? The two VCs that we went to, both of them were incredibly bright, sharp, very successful young men.
And if I'll stop you just for a second there, Jodi. For people that don't know what a VC is, that's just a venture capitalist. So
they fund a lot of
venture capitalists. If you wanted to raise some money, wanted them to get involved in your business. Sorry, Jodi, because there are some people listening that.
Yeah, no, fair enough. So VC is the step before private equity. So if your company is young, so a company like ours could look to a VC firm, and we've just not done so. But the two that we did, we had introductions through our shareholders, and they encouraged us to go have a chat. And this was a while back now, a year or two or more. But they just looked at us after our 10-minute elevator pitch and said, "I just don't get gold. Why would you want, why would you want to own gold?" They were very happy with the Australian dollar. They don't have an affinity with it, a historical affinity as other markets do. They haven't potentially lived through a major crisis. Now they have through the GFC, but they missed a lot of other crises before that, and fairly comfortable sitting here in Sydney town, and don't understand that their money is losing this purchasing power. Now, I'm not here to say that gold is the end-all solution to everything, but I do think it is an investment. It is a hedge. It is an insurance policy. So those are three great reasons that you should look at gold, right? Now, how do you buy it? Then we've made it very simple. But yeah, people here think, we went through all the agencies. We've done all the hard yards in terms of compliance. And, we went to the Reserve Bank, and he said, well, we met with a couple of folks there, and their response was the Australian dollar's doing fine. We don't see the need to turn gold back into money.
Wow.
Well, fair point. That's their job to stand up the Australian dollar. And yet his goal that year was to create 3% inflation. So look, it's just, you've got to hedge. You've got to diversify. That's the most important thing. I'm not here to give anybody investment advice, but I am here to sell you gold if you do want it. And we've made it really, really simple. And it, both the accessibility, there's no minimums, there's no paperwork. Depending on the level that you want to transact, there are various KYC, which is identity
customer.
Identity.
But so it's when you say it's easy, it's SendGold.com is the website. There's a full explanation about what they can do and how they do it.
Yeah, it's dead simple. Download the app and you can buy gold in a couple of minutes. You can buy gold through
That's
PayPal.
cool. There's an app, ladies and gentlemen, for all those youngies out there. And speaking of young people, a lot of people staying at home at the moment, and a lot of people will be, we know, they love games. They love a good game. Now, I really would love to talk about when my boy, who's now all grown up, was a young fella. It was all about Pokemon Go. And talking to you earlier, you say that you've got a game. So for all you gamers out there, let's talk about that for a couple of minutes.
So we have a different app than SendGold called Gold Rush. Gold Rush is very much based on Pokemon Go. So it's based on geolocation, and we've unitized the gold token. So what that means is that we can put gold all around the world. So gamers have been achieving gold or earning gold in games for forever. We've now put real gold behind that. And so we've run a few of these already. We ran one through our 600 shareholders last year. We put gold in 14 cities in Australia, and they ran around with their phones just like you would Pokemon Go. And when you find gold, you go into a gameplay zone, and then you find the hotspot. Within the hotspots, there's, could be $30,000 worth of gold, whatever the case. When you find a gold token, you tap on it. The gold is immediately credited to your SendGold account. So it's interesting on many levels. It's a game and it's fun, but also it allows us to create awareness all around the world. So we can put gold in, Hyde Park in London and middle of New Delhi, Zanzibar, you name it, Moscow, all at the same time. Our next Gold Rush, we're putting gold in crazy places. So,
when's the next game going to happen? Because I'm into it, but
yeah.
it's an app called Gold Rush, and so if I download the app, And say I'm lucky enough to get out there, and once this coronavirus, we can all get out and start playing games like this. It's good, you get out in the fresh air, etc. But is that then linked to my SendGold account? Like if I find that gold, does that then go into my account? How does it work?
Correct. It immediately goes into your SendGold account. So you go out and you find, we have some guy, and it's not a race. They come and go, they pop up and disappear. So we wanted to put one on the top of Everest and let it sit for a while and see what happens. And in the middle of the ocean, and we've got all sorts of things planned. There's a lot of PR around it. We were going to be running one right now, in fact, and we're not because of obvious reasons. But as soon as we're all allowed outdoors, we're going to kick that off. But it is a lot of fun. We developed it for our millennial customers in Asia, the millions of them that love these sort of things. But it's been a surprising hit when we've run them in Australia. People love it. It's just fun, and it's real gold. It's you're not buying a.
Do you know what I want to do then? I'd love, can you make sure you get in touch with me just before you go live with it again, and let's do a quick example. Like, let's get you out there and show people how it works, because I think it's pretty easy, isn't it?
It is. It's very easy, and it's a lot of fun. So look, we've got a lot in store. We've got a really busy time. It is a very busy time. We're up 700% the last since
crazy.
I think late January in gold trades. We are the average transaction is going way up. We see a lot of people buying, at one level, and now it's a whole nother level for us where.
So the more people buy the gold, where do you source? So it's all backed by gold. If you're grown by 600-700%, how are you keeping up with the physical gold, which you're backing all of this demand from?
Very, very simply, we have no problem with that. So we're not trading trillions of dollars worth of gold, like we're not in the government level. So we've got no problem with physical supply, that's for sure. I want to correct you when you say a few weeks ago everyone was a little bit worried at the institutional level, but I think that's died off a bit. What I will say, though, it's not backed by gold. That suggests it's a security or a token, right? It's not. It actually is the physical gold. So the word back doesn't have any meaning with us. It is the gold that you're buying. It's not paper that's by gold. It's not an ETF. You're actually buying 100% title to physical gold. We're insured by Lloyd's of London, physically audited by Bureau Veritas. We're working with I can't say who. We're working with someone for third-party ledger custody. So just as independent validation. We're working to sell now. I'm getting a lot of requests that people just want to buy whole bars. So we're working on that product as well. There's an awful lot on, and it's, there's a lot, their businesses are really struggling right now, and our hats are off to all of them who are doing all that they can do to keep afloat. We're one of the lucky ones at the moment, and have been growing steadily over the last couple of years, and now we've really taken off now with everybody staying inside in digital, working digitally and gifting digitally and transferring digitally and not going to the banks and all of that. But then a bigger driver is really about what people understanding gold in its place. If you look at what's happening in this year alone, gold has outperformed every other asset class, every other major asset class. We just did a blog piece on this yesterday, talking about this. So it's number one performing asset. So I think we've got
people have just got to be aware of, as you said before, it's about protecting your purchasing power as well, ladies and gentlemen. The more they print, the less value your paper money has. And there is a difference between currency, which is your paper money, and money, which is gold. Correct. Jodi Stanton, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the program today. And when you get that gold rush, when we're all able to re-engage again, would you do us a favor and come back on the program and let's go and show people the gold rush game, because that sounds such fun.
Love to. I think they'll enjoy it. Thanks, Kerry. Everyone
Ladies
be
and gentlemen, if you want to learn more about how to own gold through the new SendGold platform, it's very, very easy to do. And as Jodi just said, she's the chief executive and founder. As she just said, it's very, very easy to do on their platform. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you to go out and sell your house and your children and buy gold. It's all about what we always say, hedge, diversify, but get yourself educated, understand what's happening in the financial markets, understand what's happening with money printing and what's going to happen to your purchasing power, because at the end of the day, it's you that we care about. Thanks for listening.